They tested when on the exit out process.
Good question.
Thank you. 7:38. Let's go back to the phones. We have Jesse. Sorry about that, Jesse. I know you called before Mary got on, but Mary's a little bit long-winded, and plus,
Bree. I understand that.
When Bree goes into quarantine, she's going into we are going to ask all the questions.
I completely understand that.
How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good. It's been a long time, Bree. Almost a year since our last interview.
Yes, I think it popped up on my Facebook feed, actually.
Oh.
Memories.
It was that interview that actually opened the door for me to reach out to many others still struggling with their demons.
Right.
But, the reason why I'm calling in this morning is on behalf of my wife. She's a frontliner. And she's a nurse at public health. And we were protesting last week over at the ITC intersection with the rest of her colleagues in regards to the double pay. Now, before I go any further, these nurses, my wife does what she does out of the passion of her, out of her heart, and the love and care that she has for helping people out. It's just gotten to the point where double standards are prevalent throughout, and it's blatantly being displayed in front of our faces, without any regard for those that are actually on the front lines. Department of Corrections officers, GPD officers, medics, firemen, as well as the nurses and doctors that are out there and all the staff that are required to work. My only issue was this. The AG states that, I believe it was item 2 on his opinion, that because these frontliners are called to work, it's considered a regular work day, if I'm interpreting what his opinion says correctly. However, this public health emergency, keyword public health emergency, it's an emergency where you cannot close the clinics. And it's far from their normal and regular duties in which they typically respond to. Every single day, protocols change on a whim. So for the AG to state that his opinion is it's a work day, that they should be called in because it's their work, unlike other places that are closed but are required to come in to perform duties, it doesn't jive, because these nurses have to go to work. It's a public health emergency. They have to. Whether they like it or not, they have to go. Same with the firemen and medics. So I personally believe that they should be compensated, duly, because in any emergency, from a typhoon to a natural disaster, whatever the case may be, all other agencies are awarded double pay, as well as these nurses. My wife was awarded double pay in the last typhoon we had because she had spent 2 nights over at the public health center in Iran. And yes, I understand that she was off, but they called her in.
Right.
But with an emergency such as this, it's inconceivable to think that the clinics are going to close down. So for them to justify that, it's their job. They have to come in. Of course it's their job. The clinics are not going to close down. I'm frustrated. I'm extremely frustrated because this has really nothing to do with the money, but it has more to do with, closed mouths don't get fed. And people need to speak up and stand up to what is wrong. If you're going to make it fair across the board. These nurses, my wife nearly got infected. So she was out of work for 12 days as a precaution. She tested negative, but she was out of work for 12 days as a precautionary measure. Thankfully, admin leave was applied to her being out of work. However, now they got a memo that if they were to take leave, admin leave will not be applied now. It will now be used as sick or annual leave, which it doesn't make sense to me. Just because they're supposed to work on a regular day doesn't mean the same rules should apply on an emergency, because everything changes. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm biased because she's my wife and she's a nurse and I'm defending all these frontliners, but to keep it simple and use basic logic, there is a time for politics, and I understand that politicians lengthen their pockets when the opportunity presents itself, but in a time where the world is suffering simultaneously as one, there's no time for personal gain. This is a time where everybody should be treated equally and fairly.
Were you surprised that the AG's opinion was what it was?
I was actually shocked. I was shocked that the AG, in one respect, I was shocked. But then upon further dissecting his opinion, I was led to believe that, he just does as he's told. It's a shame that the AG doesn't have a backbone in which he can stand on. because the law is ambiguous, right? And he's reading the law to an interpretation that fits the narrative and needs of this administration. Now, the law can be interpreted in more ways than one, but he's choosing to interpret it the way that the administration wants it interpreted. If Senator Moylan, Tina Marie Barnes, as well as Mike Nicholas and a few other senators have said that the CARES Act funds the frontliners' essential pay, why doesn't the governor see the same thing? It's at no cost to the local government to provide the double pay or the essential pay. Now, if it does hypothetically come out of the general fund, I would surmise that the federal government will reimburse it through the CARES Act. So I just want to understand the governor's logic, because if one or two people are with you, but then 7 or 8 or even 20 people are against you, then obviously you must have to take an inner look at yourself to see if the decisions that you are making are what's right for the people and for those on the front lines. Now, from the way I see it, she stands alone with the AG in her decision, and maybe a few other people on this whole double pay issue thing. But the vast majority, including elected leaders, are disagreeing with her.
Yeah, and I think, Jesse, it's obvious why. I mean, we have frontliners who are working this pandemic emergency who know their rights. They know what they're entitled to.
Yeah.
And they know they're supposed to be getting double pay. So I just have a problem when we ask the governor about it, her response, and it's canned because she's answered the same way a few different times. The response is that there's no amount of money that can make up or compensate the sacrifice of the nurses, and that's why I came up with this COVID differential pay, so everybody could get some.
With regards to the differential pay, that is an insult. I mean, we should be grateful, yes. They should be grateful for receiving something. However, to receive a $25 check for 40 hours after working 7 weeks, that shows, that's a slap in the face. And really, Governor, you're showing your appreciation that way? It's like, don't use semantics on us. Don't try to manipulate us by using your verbiage and just twisting it to make us feel good, because our ignorance will no longer be played upon. The people's ignorance can no longer be played upon, especially the frontliners. They've kept mum for so long because, they were taking care of the people, and in return, they were hoping that their government would take care of them, as Trump is doing, I guess, back in the States, and Congress and the Senate passing all these, stimulus bills and whatever the case may be to help out the people back there as well as the people on Guam. Yet our governor is sitting on idle hands, and it's very, very disheartening. It's saddening that we have the first female elected governor, someone who's a mother, someone who claims to be a nurse, but clearly her actions depict otherwise, and someone who's supposed to lead and break the glass ceiling, so to speak, Guam in a different direction. But that's neither the case here or there. Yeah. She's completely doing the opposite. And, I'm not... I don't hate this administration. Matter of fact, Josh Norrie was my daughter's godfather.
Hooray!
It's just I will speak up for what is right.
I mean, it's just kind of it's a no-brainer, Jess, because, I mean, like we said, people have gotten the double pay, and they've been expecting it, and so every time the administration goes out and says, no, we have this 25% thing or the 10% thing, it just...
Or this is a different sort of an emergency. This is a pandemic, public health emergency. But like you said, an emergency is an emergency. When, an emergency happens, there are only certain agencies that never close. And they respond. They put their lives at risk.
Exactly. Like my sister, she works for the government. She was on admin leave for 7 weeks. I went to her house. I looked at her. I gave her a smug look. I'm like, how dare you get paid? How dare you get paid?
Can I borrow?
Can I borrow? Yeah.
Right.
But I just wish the governor would, first of all, she needs to change whoever's advising her, because they're advising her to crash into an iceberg of Titanic proportions, and she needs to open up her eyes and have more empathy. I don't want to say sympathy, because we don't want to feel sorry for our people. We want empathy. We want you to relate to us on a level that's eye level. Don't sit upon your throne and wave your wand as if you're in a Disney featured film, because you're not. It's do for the people, and the people will ultimately do for you.
Yeah.
All right, Jess.
Is your wife signing up for the JFT lawsuit?
Yes, she's actually. That's why she did not want to speak up this time around, because I advised her not to. because I foresee the government, this administration, soon to apply pressure to these nurses to withdraw from the GFT. I'm gonna go out on a limb and predict that they're gonna apply the pressure to pursue these nurses to go out on a limb, because it's just the administration's another way of administration to manipulate and the nurses and the frontliners. But I told my wife, stand your ground. I got your back. If they paid back the Port 7 for how many years of lost wages? Don't worry. Mm-hmm. You know, the GFT will have you. Let them make their stupid decisions, and you will be sitting down with $100,000 in your pocket.
Right. Well, Jess, thanks, man. Call anytime, brother.
Thank you. You have a great day, Sabrina.
Okay.
You too. Be safe.
Yeah, wash your hands.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Oh, there you go. Yeah, people are definitely frustrated about this double pay issue, and it really seems, I don't even think doubling down is the word for it. It's like Guadalupe is like tripled down, and they're just like, if we just keep saying the COVID differential thing, they're going to go away. Yeah. They go away. No, they're still there. Okay.